Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cinematic Schematic, the official podcast of the Cinematropolis.com. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and today we'll be talking about some of the summer films we've been watching recently before breaking up the deadCenter and blockbuster film talk with a review of the writer-director Jim Jarmusch's new film, The Dead Don't Die. After a couple of months being away from the mic because life's busy, summer's busy, festivals and traveling, and I'm so happy to welcome Laron Chapman back to the mic. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's bright and early, and we're in good spirits and ready to talk some movies.
That's right. Sunday morning. Yeah.
Father's Day.
Father's Day. That's right.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers.
Yeah. It's, in a weird sort of way, I feel like this is a good Father's Day movie to talk about.
You know?
I don't know. Maybe if your dad's into Jim Jarmusch, I don't know. Anyway, Laron, it's good to have you back behind the mic, and I think this is a good opportunity for us to kind of catch up on some of the other summer films we've seen, and before jumping into kind of a pretty quick review. I don't know if there's a ton to say about Jim Jarmusch's film The Dead Don't Not Die, but I think that there's some good jokes to poke fun at. Now, if you're listening out there for the first time, I do want to remind you that you can find all of our podcasts at thecinematropolis.com, and you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/thecinematropolis or on Twitter at thecinematrop. I think we'll go ahead and just jump right into what we've been watching. So, Laron Chapman, we'll do a little back and forth. I think we both have a couple movies to talk about. We'll start with you. What is a film that you've seen recently that you would like to talk about today?
Probably the most recent one that I really enjoyed was Rocketman. I think it's one of those weird situations where it's like we just came off of Bohemian Rhapsody last year, actually winning Oscars. So then Rocketman comes out, and you think, okay, so is this going to be, on the same level?
It made like $800 million, I think Bohemian Rhapsody did. Mm-hmm. So you're like, oh no, here come the onslaught of music biopics again.
Exactly. So you kind of go in like, man, but I really love Elton John, and I all these, so hoping for the best, but obviously going in, cautiously optimistic. And I was just really impressed with his performance. I think he channeled him very well. The music, all the musical numbers are show-stopping. And it's an unorthodox biopic. In the sense that it's like it's actually a musical. But we're dealing with some dark subject matter, so it kind of has that framework of going progressing with the story, but then having a moment for this musical number that's done in a more edgier way, of course, because it is Elton John's life. So
it's rated R too.
Yeah.
For listeners out there. I did like his interview where they asked him about it, and he's like, I didn't live a PG-13 lifestyle, man.
Yeah. Also enjoyed Ma. It's one of those things where I wished it was a little more campy than what it is.
So Ma, this is the movie, the kind of horror movie starring Octavia Spencer, mm-hmm. where she gets really tight with these teenagers, right?
Right. So she's basically, it's one of those stories where a girl who's been in school, is kind of trying to relive, or repurpose the horrors of her adolescence and try and reinstate it into her new life. And it obviously goes way too far and out of hand, but she wasn't a very popular girl at school. So, and so this is it could have been, more of a, it's good to see Octavia Spencer's Oscar winner kind of just letting loose and becoming unhinged and, having fun with a role that's not so stoic and, but I honestly just wish they'd gone a little bit further with it because they play it kind of safe. It's directed by Tate Taylor, who did The Help. And so there's this.
So this is fits the MO.
So it fits the MO, obviously, and it's weird because it's like he just wanted to make a horror movie. That's what it kind of felt like intermittently between his biopics. He did what was it? Get on Up with Chadwick.
Chadwick Boseman
as James Brown. So this just felt like he was just having a good time, and just wanted to make a B movie, horror movie. But the problem is there's this awkward sentimentality, that's kind of there. They kind of laid on way too thick. Like they're playing it way too straight-laced before it becomes unhinged at the end. But by the time we get to the end, it was a fun ride, at least. And Octavia Spencer's performance was a lot of fun.
Well, that's good to hear, because I remember seeing the trailers for Ma, and I wasn't sure what to make of it. It looks very tonally all over the place in the trailer. So,
Sure.
But you think overall it's cohesive enough and it works well enough?
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun B movie.
All right. So fun B movie. That's Ma. I think that's still both Ma and Rocketman are still playing in theaters currently, so you can catch those there. Two I want to talk about. First and foremost, listeners will know, longtime listeners know, I am a big X-Men fan. So I did catch up with X-Men Dark Phoenix recently, and it's. Firstly, it doesn't have. I found out it doesn't have X-Men in the title. It's just Dark Phoenix, which is kind of strange. But anyway, it's fine. There's a narrative out there that this movie is like garbage, and I think that's a little unfair because it's actually a pretty competently made blockbuster. It kind of lacks ethos. This is and of course this is written and directed by Simon Kinberg, who has long worked on the X-Men franchise in various capacities. He also is a producer. He's worked on Star Wars films. He's been all over the place, working on all sorts of different features, television shows. So this is his directorial debut properly. And I think there was a story from, I believe it was Deadliner this week, that revealed that Bryan Singer also left the set of Apocalypse. Kind of fits his MO. Sure. And Simon Kinberg was the one who had to land that ship. And unfortunately, that ship was also pretty bad. So,
yeah.
So this one, So X-Men Dark Phoenix, I enjoyed it. It's kind of cool. You get to see there's some cool set pieces, specifically the opening one where the X-Men go into space and you see everyone kind of working together in a team capacity that I thought was pretty cool. I think performances are great as always. I mean, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender could do these roles in their sleep at this point. And even though I don't know that it adds a ton to those characters, well, Magneto specifically, I still think it's a well done film. I did like Xavier. They do a really interesting thing with, where basically it's set in the 90s, so 30 years after X-Men First Class, and essentially he has succeeded. The mutants and humans live together generally peacefully. The X-Men are seen as superheroes. They even make nods at it. But the film kind of goes out of its way to reveal the problematic nature of a guy leading a school where he trains soldiers to go out and fight wars for him. And while he's sitting around schmoozing with the politicians and also kind of one thing about the Phoenix Saga that's great is it kind of reveals some of the mistakes he's made along the way that he doesn't really fess up to. So there's actually some good stuff. I actually think there's 2/3 of a good movie here. Third act is rough, but I mean, that's like a superhero 101 problem these days. Yeah. Third act is always kind of rough. So I don't know. It's got I think it's sitting in the mid-20s on Rotten Tomatoes right now. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
As an X-Men fan, I had a good time. I thought it was worth it. It's definitely one of the weaker films, not the strongest one to go out on. And I do think, given that cast, it could have, and given the fact that this is going to be the last X-Men of the 20th Century Fox X-Men saga that's been going since 2000, it's a little bit of a bummer. It's kind of going out on a whimper, not on a triumphant note. Days of Future Past or Logan probably would have been more appropriate. It's fine. We'll go move on. Laron, you like the X-Men, right?
Yeah, I do, definitely. Yeah. And so, and I've yet to catch it, but I still am anxious to at least see how it ends, even if it is kind of going out on autopilot. These characters are fun. I enjoy this world, so I'll definitely still check it out. Yeah.
I'd say it's worth watching if you're an X-Men fan, and it's been relatively speaking, it's been a pretty sad box office performance. It's actually the lowest opening X-Men movie by a lot. So. It's a shame. I guess we'll have to wait 5 more years until Marvel decides to reboot the characters in their own universe. So I guess stay tuned. The other movie I want to mention is Brightburn. Now, Brightburn is a film that is not directed by anybody I knew, but it was produced by James Gunn. Write that up, actually. Produced by James Gunn, written by his brother Brian Gunn and Mark Gunn, and then directed by a gentleman named David Yarovesky. Directed by David Yarovesky. And essentially, it's it's Superman, the origin story, except for instead of, truth, justice, and the American way or whatnot, he decides to be a serial killer. Like, he's a weird, creepy teenager kid who has these powers, but decides to just murder people instead. And he's like 13 in the movie.
Yeah.
It's gotten kind of mixed reviews, and I think I'm right there in the middle of that. It's having a lot of fun playing with genre tropes, which I found quite enjoyable. But usually, I guess I've come to expect, maybe it's because of Scream or any number of other, or Cabin in the Woods or any other number of, or even Kick-Ass. Like anytime you're playing with the tropes of a genre, I expect that there's a point to it. I don't know if there's a point to it other than just to have fun. It's not saying anything particularly interesting. Other than that, puberty sucks. There's not really a lot going on there. So I don't know if it really, it's a movie that I enjoyed. I kind of will probably forget about. And I guess my whole thing is, if you're going to start playing with genre tropes, maybe have a reason to do that.
Sure.
Because it feels more like an exercise than a parody or a satire. It's not really doing anything super interesting. That said, it is an entertaining film, very well produced. So I think my recommendation is, catch it on Netflix one day.
Lukewarm, yeah. Catch most of these on Netflix, but definitely they're out there, it's something different, for once. So,
yeah. I just got to say, before we move into our review of The Dead Don't Die, Laron, I don't know about you. This summer, I remember looking at it. I'm like, this is going to be a really good summer. And it's not been bad. It's just we're just coasting. We got Avengers, and that was obviously a big climactic thing. And I think overall. It's a good start. Yeah, great start, right? I got Detective Pikachu. That's not everyone's bag, but I was very happy.
Lots of people enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's a fun little family film. It's shameless nostalgia, but at least they're clever with how they utilize it to be, I don't know, just to be interesting and cool. But I mean, it's not like a master class or anything. It's just it's a fun little 90+ minute escape for Pokemon fans, essentially, that I enjoyed. But honestly, outside of that, I've been coasting's a good word for it.
Coasting's a good word. I feel like I know you haven't got a chance to check it out, but Aladdin came out. I was genuinely surprised by that one. So I mean, there's a couple of little, if I'm thinking of bigger budget productions,
right?
Like that one for me,
kind of sticks out.
What sticks out is at least being fun and similar, very nostalgic, just kind of a throwback. We got the Lion King to look forward to. So I mean, there's still some potential for some things.
Toy Story 4 is opening this next week, and in the reviews for that early on have shockingly been, it's a masterpiece and a series of masterpieces.
Yeah. The highlights are the weird thing is the big blockbuster ones have been the ones that have kind of been,
But
some of the highlights like Booksmart.
Booksmart, yes. Booksmart's exceptional. Midsummer we've got coming out. I think that's going to be really good. Jordan Peele was talking about that the other day about how it's like an iconic masterpiece. I was like, Jordan Peele, don't say those words.
Say words.
You're hyping it up, man.
Right, exactly. Let's hope for a Hereditary. Let's hope for one.
If I can get another movie on par with Hereditary, I'm good. That's all. If it's better, amazing. But that's already a high bar in my mind. Yeah. No, I think Booksmart's probably a good one, a good example. And that film, I love it so much. It deserved a better release time. I think. On one hand, it's really great that we have a really amazing coming of age film about girls today. In the middle of the summer as kind of a palate cleanser or kind of a break from the blockbusters.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there's not a chance. It didn't have a chance to. There was no way most people were going to go see Avengers a third time over that or something. Just because of summer blockbusters.
Right. And the marketing for it is minimal. So it's one of those things where it's like if you don't know about it, you probably are going to miss it. But it's definitely something to check out.
Yeah, Booksmart. If you haven't caught it yet, catch that now. It's the actress Olivia Wilde's directorial debut. It's very strong. I would say I'm shocked by how confident her direction is in this film. She takes some style. She makes some very stylish decisions that I'm like, wow. It takes a good. Not only are you confident with what you're doing, you're experimenting with already. I think that's pretty cool. This film hasn't opened yet, but a film I did catch at deadCenter again is The Art of Self-Defense, and I caught that at South by Southwest, caught it again at deadCenter. Great movie. Talking about small independent films. It's distributed by Bleecker Street, and it's a movie about karate. Like Jesse Eisenberg gets the living crap beat out of him. And he decides he wants to be a real man, so he goes to a karate dojo to learn how to take care of himself and fight other people and be the thing he fears is kind of the goal. And it's from writer-director Riley Stearns. Really top notch. I don't know. Think about it like this: Fight Club meets Wes Anderson meets a touch of Cronenberg.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
Into that.
I think it opens in July 12th on a wide distribution platform. But if you're curious to hear about that movie, I actually have an interview with the writer-director Riley Stearns up on the cinematropolis.com. So if you want to hear more about that film, I highly recommend you check it out. We had about a 20-minute talk. It's great. We're kind of met on the summer, but keep following the independent films. But for now, let's just go ahead and move on into our review of The Dead Don't Die.
In this peaceful town, on these quiet streets, something terrifying, something horrifying is coming.
Excuse me, we're closed. Get away from me!
What the hell was it? A wild animal?
This is really awful. Maybe the worst thing I've ever seen.
What was it, wild animals?
So what are you thinking?
I'm thinking zombies.
What?
You know, the undead. Ghouls.
You look gorgeous. Oh my. Are you in this together?
Right, so that is from the trailer of The Dead Don't Die. The IMDb synopsis reads, the peaceful town of Centerville finds itself battling a zombie horde as the dead start rising from their graves. Sounds like literally every zombie movie ever. Yep. All right. Most notably, this film has a really stellar cast. You got Bill Murray, Adam Driver, Tom Waits, Chloë Sevigny, Steve Buscemi, Danny Glover. Yeah, Reza shows up in this at one point, and then of course you've got how could I forget Selena Gomez? Yeah, of course you've got Selena Gomez,
she's
Tilda.
Kind of easy to forget, but
Tilda Swinton. Huge all-star cast. This is a Jim Jarmusch film. You know, another one of our great auteur directors who I think most recently made Patterson, and then Patterson's great. Only Lovers Left Alive, the vampire movie starring Tom Hiddleston. Love that movie. And the trailers for this really had me amped up because zombies, I'm not going to lie, Laron, I'm just as tired, if not more tired of zombies than I am superheroes. Yeah. And that says a lot. So I was like, okay, a fresh take, a zom-edy. That's kind of a new. So we've gotten so deep in the zombie film. Well, we are now making a subgenre called zombie comedies, also known as zom-edies.
Yeah, which is interesting because you'll even see like in the rating, they specify zombie blood and gore,
right? As
if it couldn't just be blood and gore, but they have to specify just so you know.
What does that mean?
A zombie does it, but apparently zombies are so integral now into our culture that they now need to be referenced as if, as such.
Yes, interesting. Well, I mean, there's just so many different types of zombie gore, I guess, is my...
Yeah. I mean, it's the same to me as vampire gore or monster gore, or, but...
Right.
Right. Zombies are important, apparently.
I guess they're very important. Well, Laron, so what do you think? Does Jim Jarmusch's The Dead Don't Die, does this mix things up enough for you to say, yeah, that was a great this movie needed to exist because zombie comedy, or was it just kind of all right?
I'm somewhere in the middle with this one. I definitely had a good time with it, but it was definitely I felt it dissipating after I watched it, just because it doesn't really go anywhere in a roundabout way. If we're going to be right on the nose, it kind of is. The movie is personifies a zombie in that way. It just kind of goes on a loop. It doesn't really gets all dressed up and doesn't really know where to go. And so they have no definitive purpose. Zombies normally don't. They just kind of mosey around, and that's kind of what it does with the script as well. It just feels like you got this really, really attractive, talented, A-list cast. All of them are having fun. with their performances, and that's really because what works and fits and starts, you know, just kind of watching them play off of each other, and it's kind of an excuse for all of them to get together and just do something, you know, something fun. And I think it's you know, enjoyable but forgettable, if you will. So.
Yeah, no, I think I am going to echo those sentiments. You know, one thing I have long criticized Adam Sandler for doing is going on a fancy vacation with his best friends and then making a movie along the way to in order to make it cheaper and on his company's dime. And maybe to a much less grandiose extent, I feel like Jim Jarmusch is kind of doing the same thing here. He's like, "Hey friends, let's get together and make a movie about zombies in mid-America, in the Midwest."
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And the actors are really the standout part. I love all the performances. Adam Driver, God, he is so fun. I think for me, him and Tilda Swinton own this movie.
They steal it. I wish it was their movie. I also feel like it's one of those movies where it's like the reason why this works, and I think the reason why we stick with it, it's not just name recognition. It's that, you know, there are some interesting ideas thrown about in this, where it is a zombie movie, and I will say that it doesn't really embrace the full potential of any of those ideas, but you know, some things are thrown in there that are worth like you know, that we wanted them to explore, and so.
Yeah, no, there are ideas there. It's interesting you say they don't fully embrace them, yet they tell you what the movie is very clear about what the themes and ideas you're supposed to take away from the movie are. But you're right. Simultaneously, it doesn't really quite embrace those and really work that into some sort of meaningful commentary.
Right.
It's like surface level commentary. Like, it's good. It's like, okay, that's a good point.
Yeah. There's a lot of self-knowing humor in it, which is always welcome to me. It's nice to break away from, especially like when you're already dealing with material that has been done a million times.
Yeah.
So it's fun when they kind of wink you at the camera a couple times. Note, you know, they kind of address that they're in a Jim Jarmusch film. You know, it's just that those ideas, again, are thrown into the mix, but aren't really followed through with. And that's the problem, is that they just kind of threw a couple of random ideas together, but then they just let them sit there. They don't, it doesn't become a part of the narrative the way that you would anticipate, as like is kind of the purpose with like a satire, you know, like Scream or, you know, Cabin in the Woods, where, you know, the follow through with those ideas is why it's so clever, instead of just there for variety. You know?
No, I mean, I think you raised a good point. Actually, I hadn't considered it until just this moment. But yeah, similar criticism as I had for Brightburn that I mentioned earlier. This is, it doesn't really commit to the meta, because the movie's clearly meta. I mean, like, it's in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and at first you're like, oh, is this a meta joke? Is this where we're going? And then it goes away. And then it shows back up at the very end of the movie. And you're like, oh, I guess this was meta the whole time. Like it, but it doesn't go far enough with it where you feel like it's satire or saying something clever or really doing something particularly clever with it.
Right.
So it's just, it feels like we're just throwing it in for the sake of throwing it in. It's not really doing anything that clever other than, oh, look at how meta it is. And some of the meta jokes I think work. Some of them I think are a little overplayed. There's a repetition is part of the punchline and a lot of the jokes here. And I gotta say, by the time you get to the third or fourth reference of one thing,
it becomes... you
just know this is going to end badly.
This is going to end. Well, and there's a lot of that. There's a repeated dialogue. Hey, look, it's The Dead Don't Die by Sturgill Simpson. There you go. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah. There it is. Man, and if you like that song going in, you may not like it when you leave.
It's the only song in the soundtrack.
Yeah.
There are two modes of radio stations in this movie. There's The Dead Don't Die by Sturgill Simpson, and then there's weird random NPR / paranoid reporter guy on the radio talking about politics, which again, like, it feels like it. Okay, they're commenting, they're acknowledging like climate change, and how
millennial culture,
consumerism. I mean, there's a lot of ideas here. I just don't feel like it goes anywhere. Actors show up and don't do anything meaningful, but they're in it enough that it's not a cameo.
Right.
Like you're like, okay, this player's entering to do obviously fulfill some sort of role in the story.
Right.
We don't really get to know them well enough to know if it's like, they're just there.
Right.
I don't know, and I don't know why they're there. They're just there.
They're just there. Like characters like Selena Gomez, for example. Not that she needed to.
Are her and Jim Jarmusch really tight? Because I have no idea why she's in this movie.
There's no explanation. Like we have a whole. There's so many introductions. Like for the first 40 minutes, it's like introducing like this mixed cast of characters, and then when we finally now we've met all of them, then they literally their arcs. There's no
arcs. There's no arcs. They don't actually
there's no
enhance
stakes, really.
They don't have personal character arcs. They don't enhance the plot or the commentary or any. She's just there, right?
She's just a drifter, just driving through. So it's interesting because.
Okay, the one thing I like about that, though, I do like that we get kind of this weird Twin Peaks sort of setup. Like, hey, look, here's this really strange kind of Joe Schmo town in the Midwest that has a bunch of really quirky people in it. And you want to know more about them. I mean, you don't really learn that much more about them, but they're fun to be around, right? Like, I think that's the thing I like the most about the film is how quirky everyone is and how hard all of the actors are playing into that. I think it makes for some good comedy. But at the end of it, you're like, what was the point of it all? It's not really clear.
Yeah.
And because of that, I just walk away feeling like, and I've already mostly forgotten about the movie.
Right. And I think what you mentioned too about like I said, this could literally just be for fun, as Mickey Reese said at his panel or his Q&A. Sometimes just make a movie for fun. And this might just be, something he did middle tier of his career to just kind of, and then
get to hang out with Bill Murray.
Right. It's like, and I mean, we can't blame him, like I said. And for the most part, like I said, there's laughs to be had. There's jokes to be had. There's fun here. But I think it's weird coming because I don't know. And I'll ask you, like, I mean, tonally, does it feel different from some of his other films? Because I feel like Only Lovers Left Alive obviously is an art house film.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? Like there's a commanding vision.
His voice is very distinct.
Yeah. So here it just kind of feels like an odd. I don't know. Like some of the humor is dopier than even expected.
Yeah.
Because I mean I don't know. Like if you had told me
the hipster jokes, for example, I was like, where did that come from?
Right. It's just I don't know. Like I guess what I'm saying is that. His writing and his insights and his ideas are normally much sharper than this.
Yeah.
And that's like I said again, this is supposed to be a B zombie movie. So I'm not going in like thinking it's gonna blow me away. But even for him, it feels a little bit
maybe there was this was the first draft of the script or the second draft,
Right. And he's like, let's just bang it out and do it, So and I mean that could very well be exactly what happened. He got all these people together. He's like, let's make a movie. Let's have fun. And what happens, what ensues is it's a mixed bag.
It's a mixed bag. Yeah.
Mixed bag.
Yeah. And I think after reviewing movies for so many years, you come to realize the hardest movies to review are the ones you feel kind of middle of the road about, like this one. Like the really bad movies you can be angry about or at least be frustrated enough to have things to talk about why it's a disaster. And the great movies, of course, you want to talk about those. It's movies like this that I'm like, okay, it was an experience. I watched it. I had fun. I feel like it could have been a lot better. The commentary, they should have committed more to the commentary or to the meta tone. There were so many things I think it just needed to go an entire step further in a direction. I don't even care what direction
that's what it is. It's directionless. It just kind of goes in circles. It's like a loop, like the jokes. Everything just kind of is very circular. And at some point, it ends, and you're like, okay, well.
Oh my God! Like for example, I forgot. I just remembered there was an entire subplot with kids. There's like 3 kids that you see in this juvie, and it literally, and I use that in the proper way. It goes nowhere. It just ends in the movie, and you're like, wait, what was that?
Yeah, why was that? We spent way too much time with them for it to end that way.
Yeah,
and so and it makes me wonder too. Like you said, this might be maybe like the first or second draft of this script, and it could have been easily that. Like he set up these things and then just went with the script they had versus going through and following through with some of these arcs.
It's like he just stopped writing it. Yeah, like you know what I mean? Because you're like, okay, they're gonna go do something. And they're like, all right, wait, I know what we're going to do next. And then they go, and then they're just
because we spend
gone.
a concentrated amount of time cutting back to their reactions.
They're I'd say what, the C plot probably. I mean, they're one of the,
for sure.
They're not A plot or B plot, but they're C plot.
They're there. They're there. They're definitely there. We keep cutting to them over the course of an hour, just like seeing their responses to the imminent threat coming and everything. So it just feels like by the time they are released and then they escape the place and then they where do they go? No one goes anywhere. So it's interesting.
I know that's kind of a spoiler, but just trust us. It doesn't really.
It's not going to spoil the movie for you.
Yeah, don't worry. I don't really know if we need to get into spoilers, Laron, unless you want to talk about specific jokes or subplots. Because I don't know. I just feel like it's
weird for me because I'm thinking of movies like Broken Flowers, Coffee and Cigarettes.
Oh yeah.
We mentioned Only Lovers Left Alive. Obviously, his most, Stranger Than Paradise is like his Raging Bull.
Oh yeah.
All these films, like in the canon of his career, you know what I mean? Like, had something unique, impactful, different, forwarding the cinema language. That's why I really just feel like this was something that was kind of just steamrolled out.
Yeah, just for fun.
Because he is the brilliant, filmmaker that he is, it still wound up being watchable and serviceable, if not great.
Yeah, it's entirely watchable. Which let's go ahead and go into the recommendations on that note. So for listeners, if you're tuning in for the first time, we do not do number ratings, but we do kind of like a recommendation system. So top tier, highest recommendation is you're going to buy it on Blu-ray, see it VIP, do the whole shebang. So see it in theaters and purchase it when it comes out. The next one's full price. That's where you go at a prime time showing, maybe even a VIP showing where you pay the extra dollars to get the nice seats. You have matinee, which is self-explanatory. The option of streaming it when it hits a streaming service, Amazon, Netflix, or whatnot, or is this total trash? So, Laron Chapman, how would you recommend this film for listeners?
I would say this is a fun matinee film. If you catch it at home, even it's going to be, I feel like it'll play very fine there, but like if it's something you have nothing else to do and, you're in the mood for some zombie gore and, some meta jokes, then I think that, that you'll have a good time with this, matinee, not full price, but, it's a good movie to take your dad to. So
great Father's Day. I know listeners are listening to this after Father's Day, but you know what?
There's a lot of dad jokes.
There's so many dad jokes. I mean, my dad's not into zombie movies, but if my dad was into zombie movies in any capacity, I feel like I could take him to this and he would get some good laughs.
Mom will hate it, so don't take Mom.
Oh, no, don't take Mom. Definitely not Mom. I will say, oh boy, this is barely a matinee. Barely. Like it's really weird because I felt like I thought I was warmer on it than you, but like it's like the same what you said, that the longer I've thought about it, the less I have an opinion about it. Yeah. And it's like I'm so just indifferent to the movie. Yeah. I would say stream it, but I mean, it's a Jim Jarmusch film. The cast is great. The cast makes the movie. The cast and the
Tilda
characters.
Swinton alone.
Oh my God.
I don't even know.
Okay, no, we have to talk about spoilers because we have to talk about that.
We do.
All right.
That's fun.
Okay.
That's a fun subplot.
The third act has a lot of WTF moments in it, so we'll just talk about those. But I would say if you're a diehard Jim Jarmusch fan, you go to a matinee.
Yeah. Sure.
I think fair. If you're not, or you're just Netflix, Amazon, whatever it is, just wait. I hate to say that, but also, I am so indifferent.
We're putting as much effort into recommending this as he probably did into writing it. So we can't really feel too bad.
No.
Like we like Jim Jarmusch. This is not his best film, but it's something fun if you're a fan of his work.
Yeah, correct.
It has the essence of who he is infused in it. Even if it's not his sharpest, time behind the camera. So
correct. So Jarmusch fans, check it out. I get maybe if you're a real diehard zombie movie fan, zom-edy fan. I saw another one at South by Southwest called
what's it with Lupita?
Yeah, that one was a monster. What was it called? Oh shit, Little Monsters. That's it.
Little Monsters. Yeah. Man, I need to see that. You told me that was really good.
Yeah, I don't think it's out yet. So I did catch another zom-edy at South by Southwest earlier this year called Little Monsters, starring Lupita Nyong'o and Josh Gad. I liked that movie a lot more. That movie might not be in some ways, it's a less like the. Hold on, let me think about this. That movie is so much sillier than this movie, and it feels more juvenile. And generally, if you would have said Jim Jarmusch or that, I would have said Jim Jarmusch. But at least that movie, Little Monsters, really commits to what it's doing.
Sure.
And it's really enjoyable. This movie is just, it's kind of middle of the road. So, if you're going to pick one zom-edy to see, I would hold out for that one, I suppose.
For sure.
All right, Laron. So I take it back. We should talk about spoilers with this one. It'll be a brief talk, but I do think there's a couple of elephants in the room that we need to talk about. So if you are just dying to avoid spoilers from The Dead Don't Die, go ahead and tune out now.
Ghouls.
Okay. So what was the point of Tilda Swinton? This is evidence of him just getting people in the movie for the sake of it.
Just what? Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, you want to come and be an alien in a movie?
You want to be an alien? I mean, I love the way she walks. But, at first I'm like, okay, she's weird. But,
she's weird.
But everyone in this town's kind of weird.
So yeah. It's a small town. Everyone's a little quirky. Everything she does is with precision. It's very robotic. She's kind of emotionless, but she speaks.
I love how she's the coroner and is putting makeup on the body, like making them
like drag makeup.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. It was like, I remember watching and literally saying, well, that was a choice.
Yes. Just that was funnier than the joke itself, by the way.
Right. And I just think, I could watch her do that character, for a whole movie. And so at least he realized the potential, in his cast, at least to help elevate his middle of the road script to something serviceable and watchable, so they have fun with it. They know they do the best they can with the material they have with this one. And I think that she is definitely far and beyond the most interesting character, even if her storyline doesn't completely make sense.
No, she's UFO, which, by the way, and again, I know this is not the point of the movie. I'm not poking plot holes, but the UFO totally gave those guys a distraction to get away, and they just hung out there.
They hung out there, just chill. Yeah, it's just, yeah.
But it wasn't in the script.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't in the script. It wasn't in the script. That's right. As the actors tell the audience in the movie. So
I thought it was so bizarre. I mean, I thought it was funny. I love the okay. It was really the initial joke up front. I was like, "Oh, are we in one of these types of movies?" And then it doesn't do anything. You're like, "Oh, no, we're." That was really weird. And then at the end, they're in the car on their at death's door, and Adam Driver says, "All right, how do you know it's not going to end well?"
Yeah.
You really want to know?
Yeah.
I read the script. The whole script. Did you not get the whole script? Yeah.
I think you can tell. It's almost like he again. If I'm really imagining, I'm just going to believe that this was like the first draft of the script that he never got a chance to revisit and kind of really like flesh out character arcs, flesh out plot points. It's like he had these things he wanted to do. He wanted the actors to kind of play along with the idea that, they're in a Jim Jarmusch movie, kind of wink at it and kind of, satirize his own work.
Right.
But he only references that like on 2 occasions.
Yeah. It's a bookend.
They're pretty spaced out, like pretty early on. Like, oh, okay, we're going right into we're in a movie within a movie phase. But then we don't even revisit that until literally the third act. And so it's like he should have either removed that element to it or
the whole movie should have leaned into it.
Several characters should have done it.
Yeah.
Like even Tilda could have done it. It would have been funny. It
would have made sense for her character to do it too.
Right.
She's an extraterrestrial, like it could be a 4th dimensional being. Why wouldn't she reference it?
It just seems like he needed to commit to something and he committed to nothing.
Right.
And so in the end you have all these kind of interesting threads that really, they
don't go anywhere.
They don't get sewn together. There's nothing.
At least Tom Waits, at least his Man in the Woods, who's
also great.
He's also amazing. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. All the actors are great. At least we get a couple of different punchlines out of it.
Sure.
It's like, oh, he's the guy who you think's, it's funny. He's the guy you're like, okay, he's going to come in and save the day at some point. He's going to have his conscience is going to turn. No, he's the guy who eats chicken while he's watching people get eaten alive.
Exactly. That's it.
It was great. It was great. At least that's a punchline.
Man
right?
in the Woods, not Justin Timberlake, but
So I thought that, he was great. It was mostly like the kids. It's like, I don't know why they were in this movie at all. I mean, heck, even Steve Buscemi like was supposed to be a riff on like a Donald Trump supporter, I guess.
That doesn't really go anywhere either. I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna have commentary on Trump era. Just even if it's just like this. I mean, you know,
it's all surface level because there's the whole scene in the diner when you meet him and he's got the hat on and
like,
he's sitting next to Danny Glover. Yeah. How do you like your coffee? Black, you know, like
it's prominently there, but then you don't do anything with that character. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't. You know, he has one racist joke there that doesn't land that hard, and then
yeah. Because again, doesn't really commit to like the satire or or digging into some of those ideas that it introduces as well. So yeah, just again, you're right. For a Jim Jarmusch film, it just feels so surface level, and kind of hollow, even though, but enjoyable. All the actors turn in great performances. So I think our biggest critique is just, dude. Pick a lane and go for it. Just because we know, here's the thing, we know Jim Jarmusch can do good in whatever lane he decides to get in. So just get in a lane and go for it.
And do it. I agree.
Well,
the dead don't die, but this review does.
Yeah, exactly. So The Dead Don't Die by Sturgill Simpson.
Wait, who's by? God, if you don't know, man.
Or even Adam Driver picking up the CD that they later just toss out of the car. I don't understand. It seemed like the whole reason. Okay, there was a moment where the whole reason Selena Gomez was in this movie was to get this CD to Adam Driver for some reason.
Yeah,
because at that point she had died, but Adam Driver picks up the CD.
Yeah,
and then Bill Murray just tosses it out of the car.
Just like the rest of the ideas in the script. Just
toss
thrown into the wind.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, Laron, unless there's anything you want to add, I think that'll do it for our review of The Dead Don't Die.
I think we're good.
We're good.
I think we're good.
Well, wish I would have said earlier, but I knew this was going to end poorly. Yeah. All right, Laron. So if our listeners want to keep up with you and all the cool work you're doing, including you're working on your new film, where can they find you at online until next time?
The best place to get a hold of me is on Instagram at FreakyAFFilm is the handle. So catch me on there. You can catch all my updates on my latest film projects related to that film and all the ones above and beyond. So.
Excellent. And you can always find me tweeting on Twitter about films, TV, video games, all that stuff at C Masters Talk. That's letter C Masters Talk. You can also follow the Cinematropolis on Twitter at the Cinematrop or on Facebook at facebook.com/the Cinematropolis. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you all next time.